It's the Ross Tucker Football Podcast.
Oh, yeah, it is. But it's not just any Ross Tucker Football Podcast. It is a Finish Strong Friday, presented, of course, by Andrew Brandt in the house today. I wanted him on my show. He wanted me on his show. It worked out perfectly. There's a lot to talk about and discuss back and forth going on, not just in the NFL, but in quote unquote college football, which is becoming more and more professionalized. Before we get to Andrew, we got to announce the winners. I love the winners.
I want winners. I want people that want to win.
People like Blaze Day Natale Jewelers. They loved one of our posts on Facebook. I love that you loved it, Blaze. You are a winner. Let me know if you want a signed picture, signed press pass, signed football card. I love the Facebook love. That was awesome. Sponsor confirmation email winner, Russell Gutierrez, who had a whole email about how much he loves Raycon earbuds. That was amazing. And then the YouTube shout out, Don Vito. Don Vito, okay, he went through my Sunday night NFL draft recap and gave like time codes for every team underneath it. It was unbelievable, Don Vito. So love it. Don Vito, let me know who you want the YouTube shout out for, because I would absolutely love to do that. Speaking of shout outs, I got to shout out LinkedIn Jobs. It is so easy to create a free post there in minutes to reach your network and beyond. It's 810 million people. How is that even possible? There's like 350 million people in the United States. It's more than double every single person in the United States now on LinkedIn. They have simple tools like screening questions, make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It is the reason why small businesses, and I've got a few, rate LinkedIn Jobs number one in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Every week, nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn. That's crazy. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/Ross. That's linkedin.com/Ross to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. It's Big Show time.
The Big Show.
All right, so Andrew, I don't know if we've ever done this before, where I texted you and said, hey, I got to have you on the show this week with the Tannehill mentor comments, which made me think of Brett Favre when you were in Green Bay, with all the NIL stuff, which involves maybe the best wide receiver in college football, projected first-round pick that I've seen you tweeting about, Andrew, as well as just NFL draft thoughts, the AG. I mean, there's just a bunch of things I wanted to discuss with you, and you were like, well, I have a bunch of things I want to discuss with you. So why don't we just discuss them together? It's sort of a Ross Tucker Football Podcast, Business of Sports simulcast, if you will.
Yeah, Russ, I'm totally interested in all the things you just talked about, expressing my thoughts, but also hearing your thoughts. And so it worked out well. You know, I'm just back from a week of speaking, and I haven't done that in a couple of years with COVID. We actually talked to some groups this week. One was a corporate group out west. And then I just came back from Miami. There's a group of former soccer players, like UEFA, big time soccer players from overseas, that is now in the sports management program. They go around the world and hear from different leaders. So they were in Miami. They're doing F1 this weekend. They were visiting the Heat and the Marlins and Inter Miami down there. So I don't know a lot about soccer, but I think a lot of these people listening and watching are going to be like, wait, you taught this guy Kaka, Kaka. So he was one of my students. I look him up, Ross. The guy's got like 25 million followers on social media. He's like a huge deal. So for people who are into soccer, I think he played for Real Madrid. I mean, of course, these people know that. I hung out with Kaka the past couple days. Maybe it's Kaka. I don't even know.
Kaka, Kaka. I don't know why I want to say that. I feel like I've heard of that guy. How do you spell it? Do you know?
Kaka.
I'm looking him up right now. He has 30 million followers.
30 million followers.
30 million followers on
All right.
Twitter.
On which?
Where's he from?
On Twitter or Instagram?
Twitter.
Oh my God. So I'll tweet him out. I got a picture with him. He was asking questions. He was taking notes. You know, just for people who don't know this, the American model of sports versus the European model is extremely different. These guys, and you'd be interested in this, these guys just didn't understand how you have a player that's born in Georgia, goes to school in Texas, gets drafted by Chicago, and then can be traded to like Denver. That was just blew their mind. Like, what? How? Like, they don't come up through academies. There's like, American sports has three things that make no sense in the European model. Number one is the draft, which is totally like, how do you comprehend a draft? Number two is a salary cap. Like, what? And number three is you have all these restrictions on free agency, like a franchise tag. They're like, what? Like, we're the Law and Order of sports compared to the rest of the world. There's no question about that.
That is so interesting, Andrew. I don't know that much about the international stuff because they have like transfer rights, right? Like, so they have some restrictions.
Well, they have transfer fees. So if like Paris Saint-Germain bought Neymar from Barcelona, and they not only paid Neymar whatever they paid him, 30 million a year, 50 million a year, but they paid the team a huge amount. But it's not like a trade. It's just, I don't know. And you know, there's like three teams in Spain, Real Madrid, Atletico, and Barcelona, that pay. I heard this stat, Ross. 80% of the salaries in that league are the three teams out of like 20 teams. Like, how does that happen? Like, it's just amazing. It's just this sort of free for all over there compared to what we're.
Sounds like baseball.
Yeah, there's some baseball elements without a cap. Yeah. But what a nice thing for these former soccer players. You know, they're probably 5 to 10, 15 years out, kind of like you are to American football. And they're just getting this master's and going around the world and meeting different leaders in sports. And I was flattered that they asked me to come down and speak.
That is so cool, man. That's awesome. Yeah. I knew you were jet setting all over the place this week. All right. So some of the things I want, you know what? Why don't we start there, Andrew? Since you're talking international, how about the NFL this week? Announced their international games. I guess the things that jumped out to me are they're getting a game in Germany. That's big. And they're not messing around, Andrew. They're sending Tom Brady to Germany. Like, somebody made a decision that if we're going to do this, let's do it right. To send Brady, so they're sending Brady to Germany. You got the 3 London games. Then you've got a game in Mexico City. I mean, to my knowledge, it's the first time where there's games in 3 countries, and all of them, I think, maybe not the Mexico City one, maybe it is. I think all of them are the 9:30 a.m. Can't be that way in Mexico City, but the European ones are all that 9:30 a.m. window for the the exclusive early morning game.
Yeah, I mean, this is the continuing efforts by the NFL to sort of try to get a new fan base. And it's also interesting to me, as I talked about this week, this sport, for all its popularity here, doesn't translate well overseas. It doesn't. Let's be honest. This is not basketball. So basketball has a base, has a following in other countries. It's easier to understand. It's easier to follow. It makes sense. Football, and I know this so well right now from the audience I spoke to for 2 days, like, they don't really get it, you know. And when I was in Barcelona, it was like, why do you have all these stoppages? Why do you have these meetings? You run a play and you meet, you run a play and you meet. I'm like, it's called a huddle. It just doesn't flow well. Now, London has a base, right? London has been following these teams forever. I talked to some NFL fans of this soccer group, like, yeah, they're going to London. They're going to see the Packers. But I mentioned the Packers. You mentioned Brady. Now it's like you don't have a choice. Now, I don't know the inner workings of the NFL, Ross, whether they actually had a choice, but it just seemed like the Packers were like, nah, we're not going. We don't want to do that. But the 17-game schedule is the big thing here, because last year it was AFC 9 games, NFC 8 games. Now it's NFC 9 games, AFC 8 games. So the Bucks and the Packers and some other teams, they're losing a home game, but they still have 8 home games. And that's something to sort of say, all right, we'll do it. The only team that's going to play 7 home games in the NFL this year is the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are a staple fixture at London.
What I think is interesting, a couple thoughts. I actually thought when they went to the 17 games, I thought they would do it so every team had one neutral site game. So maybe not enough for international, but maybe they put a game in Portland, Oregon, or maybe they put a game in St. Louis or whatever, right? Like, I thought that would be a way for them to get some NFL action, some other cities. I guess there's probably some concern that there wouldn't really be a very good crowd. I mean, I don't know who you put at a game in St. Louis. Do they show up or do they boycott it because they're mad at the NFL? I don't know how that would go. The other thing is, I don't know about Rodgers or the Packers. I got to tell you, Andrew, I think not that he really had a choice, but I would imagine that Brady would embrace this. I would imagine Brady would want to play in the first game in Germany. He has big-time business aspirations. I think he likes the international stuff and the ability to play in the first game in Germany, just knowing him a little bit.
Yeah, I think that'll be great. And I think, the activation around Brady in Germany and Rodgers in London is going to be huge. I mean, they will now become a little bit more superstars than they are because they'll lock into more of an international base. I mean, I think we're just naming the 2 biggest stars in the league, and over a long period of time, and now they get to expand their brand a little bit. I think they'll both embrace it, actually. I think they will, and I think, I got to say this about Brady. I want your thoughts on this. He is active and playful on social media. Yesterday was the thing about the tuck rule, the fumble. Are you surprised by this? Because as I tweeted out, he was 20 years in Belichickia, right? Where you didn't hear a peep from Tom Brady. And these past 2 years, he's everywhere.
I don't think he would be doing this if he were still in New England. And I think he's a genius for doing it. I mean, he has expanded his profile like you wouldn't believe with the social media stuff. I don't know that he'd be doing it in New England. No. And I think it's another reason why he's glad he's not there, to be honest with you. I think he's happy to be able to do this somewhere else.
Speaking of quarterbacks, I'm going to turn it on you. This Ryan Tannehill, I'm not there to mentor Malik Willis. I experienced this obviously with Brad and Aaron. I'm like you, I see no big deal, but I thought it was really interesting. You kind of put it out there on your sarcastic wit on Twitter. And like, this is so bad. And people are coming at you. Like you just said, the world is ending. Like, wow. Your reaction to doing that and the reaction you got.
Well, so, it comes out that Tannehill said it's not his job to mentor Malik Willis. Then I saw the video and he's like talking about it. And he's like, yeah, I don't know that it's necessarily my job it's not really my job to mentor him, but if he learns stuff from me and it helps him, then that's great. But people cut off the second part of it. They just tweet, it's not you watch the video and you're like, that's fine. But online, people are making it seem like it's horrible. So I tweeted, This is the worst thing any NFL player has ever said or done. It was, you know what's crazy? I actually got a text message from an NFL executive
Yeah.
saying, dude, he said, you crack me up, because he saw the tweet and thought it was hilarious. And then he went on to say, I said, it's scary how many people don't realize it's a joke.
Yeah.
Like, they're like, oh, really? What about Aaron Hernandez, Ross? Like, it's so scary how many people don't realize it's a joke. And he texted back, it's like a societal experiment. It's like a social experiment, and it's not a good result.
They're almost, when Elon buys Twitter, there almost needs to be a sarcasm alert kind of thing. Where
I don't know that there is, though. I kind of enjoy seeing, but then I was thinking about this, Andrew. It's almost like either they don't know me or they really think I'm that stupid. Like, at some point, the joke's on me. Here's what I would say, though, about the Tannehill comment, because I think this is important. Could he have phrased it a little bit better? Maybe. But what is the outrage? I mean, so first of all, his job is to win games as the starting quarterback for the Tennessee Titans. Think about that. Like, what if he came out and said the opposite? What if he said, Andrew, my real focus is to mentor Malik Willis. My primary focus, like, everybody be like, wait, what?
Right.
No, it's not. Your primary focus is to win game. What do you mean? Don't be spending so much time mentoring Malik Willis. Make sure you're ready to go. Make sure you're ready to play so the Titans can win the division and get back to the play. Like, if you phrase it the other way, it's like anything else in life, Andrew. If you go the other way and you're like, yeah, man, that's my primary goal is to mentor Malik Willis. That's my number one priority. It would sound so ridiculous. So when he says it's my job, it's not my job to mentor him, but if he learns stuff from me, that's great. That's exactly right. I had vets that were helpful to me.
Yeah.
I was helpful to some younger guys at times. I never thought it was my job to mentor younger guys at all, especially when they were drafted and they were coming to take my job. I didn't think it was my job to do that. But even the guys that helped me, Andrew, it wasn't their job to mentor me. They might have given me a tip or two here or there. You know what I really did, though? I followed them.
Yeah.
I watched what they did.
Yeah.
I asked questions. I watched the way Dave Zott was in walkthrough, treating every step of walkthrough like it was the Super Bowl. I watched, John Jansen finish plays. I watched Ben Coleman go in the cold tub every day after. Like, you learn by watching. Those guys aren't like going out of their way to mentor you. The whole concept is so stupid in my mind.
I agree. And I watched practice for 10 years and the red jerseys of Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. That's how you mentor, because he's out in practice and after he throws a play or after Rodgers did a play, there's the quarterback coach and they're going over this sheet. And what is every shot of a quarterback after they come off the field is? It's sitting on the bench with the quarterback coach on the right and the backup on the left. And every shot of the offensive line, it's the backup standing there around him. That's mentoring. It's like, come on, people. And the other part of this is Ryan Tannehill is going to be replaced. Brett Favre was going to be replaced. Aaron Rodgers is going to be replaced. This is the nature of the business. And whether, you mentor, you ignore, you freeze out, you talk, it's happening. And it's not just quarterback. People get focused on quarterbacks. It's the constant inexorable turnover of the NFL.
Andrew, we got to talk NIL before I let you go. And maybe we'll have some other conversation about it. So I guess I'm gonna set you up just to talk about what NIL is, because I know it's the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, Business of Sports Podcast, and I know we primarily talk NFL, but this has NFL ramifications because part of it is going to be the guys getting the most money and moving around are going to be some of the best players, the NFL players. But also, there are guys, we've already seen this in college basketball. Oscar Tshiebwe, who went to high school in Pennsylvania, he's not going pro in the NBA. He's staying at Kentucky because he's supposed to get over $2 million to play one more season at Kentucky. He's the first NCAA player of the year to not go to the NBA in like decades because he's like, nah, I'm going to stay at Kentucky for $2 million. The Michigan big man, Hunter Dickinson, is staying at Michigan. He said there's no chance it would have happened without NIL. So this is where we are, Andrew. And I think we're there with some college football players too.
A lot to unpack here. And by the way, I've spent the last week, since I talked to you, I had my students in my class present on NIL, every one of them. And I'm getting papers on it. It's the topic in sports business, sports law, pro or college. Here's the deal. Supreme Court decision a year ago, education-related benefits can't be restricted. The NCAA threw up their hands. We're out. Because everything we do, my saying, there will be lawyers. So antitrust lawyers would challenge anything. So after preparing for NIL for 2 years, they threw up their hands. And now what happens when there's no regulation, when there's no one watching the hen house, when the cat's away, the mice will play. This is it. So it's supposed to be cute, right? And most NIL is, for lack of a better word, cute, right, Ross? It's a couple $100, Instagram out this product, get some shoes, get some product. But then you have college football and basketball because there it's big time. And these collectives have changed the way you do business. Collectives are donor groups pooling their funds to, let's be real, to keep and retract football and basketball players. That's it. That's what they're there to do. Now, in the old days, SMU and these you couldn't do that. But now you can because you frame it as NIL. And University of Texas pays $50,000 for each offensive lineman. I'm sure you love hearing that. What do? I don't know. They show up at charity functions. The only thing with NIL is you have to be a quid pro quo. You have to be doing something, but you know how that works. So now it's all, as you talked about, this quarterback from California is going to get $8 million to go to Tennessee, $2 million a year. That Texas A&M recruiting class, supposedly they spent $20 million on the recruiting class. What is it? What is the end? Now we have reports that Congress is going to do something, or Congress is going to look at it, or leaders are going to. Good luck. Good luck putting the toothpaste back in the tube. I don't know where it ends. I do know boosters aren't supposed to pay for play. They're going to say we're not paying for play. Boosters aren't supposed to recruit. They're going to say we're not recruiting. We'll see where this goes.
This was always going to be how it went down. Because even if they say it's not supposed to be an inducement, even they're going to say, well, all of our freshmen this year are getting X. Can't tell you to come, and that you'll get that if you come, but every single one of them's getting that. You know what I mean? Like this was always how it was going to go down. How would they ever change that?
How would you change it? I mean, I think you just talked about the guys that are saying, all right, what's the NIL package? Everyone's asking that now. So how does this not become pro sports? You have an idea?
I don't think they can stop it now.
Yeah.
I don't think they can. I don't think that there's any, because there's no way, even if you say it can't be an inducement, there's no way. I guess the one way you can stop it is you can't tamper. So you can't talk to kids that are on scholarship somewhere else. They got to go in the portal first. So that's one thing you can probably do, but there's still back channels. I think what they really need to do is just have a better, for roster management, a better time period. Like, for lack of a better term, they have to have a free agency period.
Yeah.
They have to have because what's crazy right now is, Andrew's it's not the NFL where there's 32 teams and there's a free agency period and there's contracts and there's a salary cap. college football, there's hundreds of teams.
Yeah.
There's no salary cap. And I've heard multiple stories of kids that threatened to leave after the season. And so their schools gave them money to stay in December.
Yeah.
I know one kid that the school did that in December. He did it again in the spring. They gave him money to stay, and they gave him money to stay for second semester. And then at the end of second semester, he's like, I need more or I'll leave.
Well, people say once these donor groups find out their investment's not good, they give a guy $1 million, he's a backup, he doesn't play, the money will stop. I don't believe that. I don't believe it. I think people will keep throwing money at players. It's an arms race, just like the coaches' salaries. Now it's an arms race to get the best players. And
I'm glad it's going to the players as opposed to just ridiculous facilities or coaches getting more and more. I'm glad the players are getting money. I think it's great. If people are willing to pay, then that's what they're worth. The issue is just it's kind of a mess right now.
Yeah.
There needs to be more structure around it somehow. And I just saw this morning Ross Dellinger said from Sports Illustrated, they're trying to enforce this tampering rule essentially, that you can't talk to somebody who's on scholarship somewhere else, and that they're going to make it retroactive. So they're going to try to go after the schools that have been doing it. I think that's a mess. I don't know if it's going to work. I do know, Andrew, you are the man. Thank you for coming on the Ross Tucker Football Podcast and having me on the Business of Sports Podcast.
Thank you for coming on. And the last thing I say on NIL is, my catchphrase, there will be lawyers.
There always are. There he is, Andrew Brandt. Absolutely love talking with my guy, Andrew, just like I love athletic greens. I know Andrew does as well. Huge athletic greens. I started taking it because everybody I talked to was taking it. It's been awesome for gut health, definitely more energy, and it's better for my immune system. 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, adaptogens. I take it in the morning on an empty stomach because they said that's the best time to do it. It's lifestyle friendly. I'd rather drink this and get my vegetables rather than taking a multivitamin. That's just me, maybe. The founder was spending $100 a day. This is only $3 a day. To make it easy, Athletic Green is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/Ross. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/Ross to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance.
Tuck's Takes.
Hey, Ross, good morning. Let's start with college football. As you and Andrew were talking about NIL, Jordan Addison, Pitt wide receiver, has entered the transfer portal.
Right. So we didn't really, Andrew and I didn't really dive into that part of it. So if you're not familiar with him, I've had scouts tell me that when they were watching Kenny Pickett, they were blown away by Jordan Addison. He won the Biletnikoff Award as the best wide receiver in college football over the 2 Ohio State kids, over Jamison Williams, over Drake London, over Jahan Dotson, to give you an idea of how good he is. And he's in the transfer portal, which means he can be contacted by any schools. I don't know who he has representing him, but yes, college football players can have representation now. And I don't know where he'll end up going. All kinds of rumors about USC and multiple millions of dollars. Here's what I do think. I think he's going to go somewhere. And I think he's going to get a couple $1 million for 1 year of college football. I don't know if it'll be USC, only because of this new thing that Ross Dellinger came out about retroactive. I think USC is probably scared that they could get busted now. And if they sign him, then they'd really be in trouble. If they let him go somewhere else now, if they don't bring him into USC, then maybe the NCAA doesn't come as hard on them. Just a thought, right? I think that's a possibility because if you're USC, is getting this one kid worth the NCAA maybe giving you sanctions or whatever?
Tuck's Takes.
In order to reduce helmet-to-helmet contact, those Guardian caps are going to be mandated by the NFL in training camp and preseason games.
So have you ever seen them, Brian? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So they're great. I guess I saw where I forget his name, Dr. Sills from the NFL said that they have found it's basically like a cushiony cap you wear on top of your helmet. It's basically like it absorbs 10 to 15% of the force of the hit to make the less force. And then so if you have it and the guy you're hitting has it, then you're multiplying. It's like 30% less force. So you almost wonder, Bri, if it's that great, if they're just going to keep doing it and end up having it so that that's the standard, that everybody wears that on their helmets for games, for anything.
Tuck's Takes.
Grady Jarrett, defensive tackle, signs a 3-year, $51 million extension in Atlanta.
Well, he's a terrific player. He is part of the solution, not part of the problem in Atlanta. I mean, he's their best player. AJ Terrell's pretty good as well, but Grady Jarrett's their best player. Can't afford to not have him. They want to start to build. I think 2023 will be a good year for them, and they know they need a player like Grady Jarrett.
Tuck's Takes.
And finally, you and Andrew already touched on the international games that were announced. You want to go into more detail here?
Well, so two things. Just a thought on Grady Jarrett, by the way. If they realize there's going to be a couple years away, this also gives them the ability to trade Grady Jarrett. Now, I don't know that they will, but this gives them, they have him under contract for longer to be able to trade him. As far as the international games, so week 11, Monday Night Football is Niners-Cardinals. Week 10 in Germany, Seahawks-Bucks. And then in London, Vikings-Saints week 4, Giants-Packers week 5, Broncos-Jags week 8. ESPN Plus exclusive, which is interesting. So obviously they're paying a lot for that. So I love it. I mean, you guys know how I feel. First of all, I know we have a lot of international listeners. I love all of you. Speaking of love, by the way, I love all of you, but I really love OOFOS. I mean, I'm obsessed at this point. They make active recovery footwear, shoes, slides, boots, and clogs, all designed with their proprietary OOFOam technology and patented footbed to help you recover faster and feel better. I'm actually amazed that something like this hasn't come out earlier. It almost feels like almost like a mattress. It's almost like I don't want to say a name brand because then they won't like it. I don't know if they like it or not, but think of those foam mattresses. It's like that, but for your foot. So it's nice and cushy and soft, and also forms to your foot a little bit. It separates OOFOS from any other cushioned or performance footwear brands. I'm OOFOS for life. I wear the clogs. I wear the slides in the house. I wear the flops out of the house. I am a big time OOFOS guy. Please. It's not just for athletes, though. Construction workers, nurses, whatever. You're on your feet, get some OOFOS. You will be so happy that you do. Speaking of so happy, just to finish up the international games thing, Brian, I know we have a lot of international fans. I want them to get good football. I want our German fans to get Brady. I know we have a lot of folks in the UK that listen or watch the show, Australia as well. Maybe not Germans if they don't, because I don't speak German. I don't know. It's interesting. Australia, the people that speak English, we have a lot of Australia listeners, a lot of UK listeners, Scotland, love it. Very, very cool. But anyway, I'm pumped. Andrew's right. Football's not as popular overseas as basketball is. And basketball is awesome, but it's not football. I mean, take it from a guy that played both his whole life. It's just not the same. Can't wait for next week. Got some good guests cooked up for you guys. Shout outs to Pizza Boy Brewing, Sporticulture, HumanHeadNYC.com, SteakhouseSports.com, Go-Bengals.com, and Evergreen Economics. Fun week. Check out Even Money, Fantasy Feast, College Draft. We'll be back probably Sunday night. I sort that out with Briar right now. I think we're done here.
Thanks for listening to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. Make sure to also subscribe to the Fantasy Feast, Even Money, Business of Sports, and College Draft. All available at Apple Podcasts, rosstucker.com, or wherever podcasts can be found.